Hello, Tribe. Welcome to another Coach's Corner Health. I'm here with my amazing co-host. Well, I think we're hosts together,
Yes.
Andy, and we're going to tell you little bit about ourselves. But I'm so excited because this is the first of our weekly YouTube videos. We decided to go weekly in 2022, so you're going to see more of us. So I'm excited for this.
Yep.
My name is Leslie and I am a life coach for women, and I help my clients through mindset, emotional awareness, self love, and what that looks like for them as it pertains to how they show up in their world. Because our emotions have a really funny way of making our thoughts get even worse, and then our thoughts and feelings dictate how we show up in our world. So I like to help them get a better self awareness around that, so that they don't lose time because they're focused on their emotions and thoughts. Rather, they create more space to get more done, have more fun, and enjoy their lives. So that's me a little bit in a nutshell. Andy, over to you. Tell us who you are.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to our newest video from our new improved channel. I'm loving what we're doing this year. Like Leslie said, we're going to go weekly. We're going to do a bunch of new stuff. I'm just so excited with the evolutions we're making this year. I am Andy. I am the unconditional coach, as you can see by my name. What I mean by that is I help people really find what it is they're looking for without making a bunch of limitations or expectations or a bunch of conditions, you might say, on how that happens. I want to help you find a path that's custom for you. I specialize in helping guys who have questions about what the hell's going on. Like, why am I not getting what I think I want, what I think I deserve, where it's supposed to go? Some of those guys have control issues. A lot of them have control issues, either control over themselves or the control over other people.
Mhm.
Uh, so it all wraps up into me helping guys get what they're looking for without having to set a bunch of conditions down on other people, expectations down on other people, and
Yeah.
actually without having to set a bunch of expectations or conditions down on themselves either. So, yeah, that's what I do. And I'm so looking forward to today's conversation. I'm loving the hot topic. So, why don't you tell us what we're going to talk about today?
Yeah, so to kick off the year, Andy and I decided let's talk about leadership, right? Like what it means to be a leader. Because I think in the marketplace, a lot of people think that leadership is one thing as it pertains to being in an office environment, in a work environment. But
Mm-hmm.
leadership actually, I think, is across anything that you do. You can be the leader in your home, in your community, in your church, and whatever that looks like. So we're going to talk about that, what leadership is, what leading by example actually means, how great leaders lead, because I think that's important, and our experiences with great leaders. So that is our topic, our what we're going to be talking around today. And as always, there was no prep work in the topic. We just knew what we were going to talk about and basically just get the conversation rolling. That's how we like to have an actual comfortable conversation between friends that doesn't have to be scripted. And so that's
Yeah.
what I love about our conversations.
Yeah, yeah. We our outline consists of this is the topic we want to talk about, and these are sometimes I think maybe 10 or 15% of the time we'll even write down a couple of three questions we want to ask during the conversation. But even that most of the time we don't even do that. So I love these unscripted conversations. It allows us to really lean into what we actually believe, what we actually think, what our actual opinions are, and it allows us to come up with conflict. If there's anything you and I disagree about, we deal with it on the spot in the moment. And quite honestly, it doesn't even sound like we disagree most of the time because the way we disagree is so much in agreement. Like we just love how we talk to each other. It's the conversations we have are just amazing, and it works out so well for both of us and for you, the audience, for you guys watching, for you people watching. This is how you have great friendships. This is how you have great partnerships. This is how you have great conversations with all kinds of people. So that's my example of us being leaders. We're showing you how to do it.
Yep. So I want you to start and tell us. like what your definition of a leader is, because I know we can get into it, but I'm curious what your definition.
Yeah. So for me, a leader is somebody who leads, somebody who somebody who other people follow. Now that some leaders do it by choice, some leaders intentionally pick up the leadership position and start a thing or promote themselves into the leadership position and gather people around them to follow them. And some people end up being leaders because people come to them and say, "Will you help me?" or "Will you show me?" or "Will you lead me?" and and other people end up leaders because they get told that that's their new job or that's their new position within the friendship or the family or the company. Leadership is people who lead, people who someone else wants to follow or someone else is following. That's leaders. Now there are positive ways to lead and negative ways to lead. There are ways that people will voluntarily follow and enjoy following, and there are ways that will chase followers away. But the core definition, in my definition, is just somebody who leads. That's
Yeah, no,
that's that's me.
I love that. And for me, being a leader, yes, of course, is someone who leads, obviously. But I also believe that being a leader is learning to follow at the same time. Because sometimes you actually have to follow to be a good leader, because that means you are accepting that you are, I should say, leading into a growth mindset. And so that's when you're out looking for ways to improve. And so that's for me part of being a leader. And I guess that's really what that is. It's just qualities of a leader. So we can get into that. But
Yeah, yeah,
I think sometimes though, how you said leaders are people who follow, who there's good ways to lead and there's negative ways to lead. But I think it's not necessarily that a leader is someone voluntarily follows, because
right.
you can have a setting where someone is put in the leadership role and there's people who have to follow. They're not necessarily voluntarily wanting to follow, but it's the positioning. So it can be positioning that's not necessarily in your control.
Yeah,
But it's so that's when we're going to start talking about actually what makes that leader a good leader and what makes that leader not so good, as far as like in my own opinion and your own opinion, because I feel
yeah,
like there are people who are in these roles that not necessarily do they understand the role that they're in, and so they're not exactly, I would say, maybe embodying all that a leader could be, because
yeah,
there's so much that you can do, so much that you can give to the people that you are, they are depending on you to show them the ropes, to show them the way, to show by example. And especially if you are not, if you, and I don't know if I would say that you're not qualified, but I think sometimes people, as you had said, are put into leadership roles, but they're not really properly trained. Does that mean that that's their fault? Not necessarily, because that comes from the leaders above them. A leader who puts a leader into position, you want to make sure that you're qualifying those people in a way that you are empowering them so that they can lead.
yeah.
And so that's part of like why I believe a leader is more than just someone that you follow, but they also are someone that actually makes good decisions, like good decisions for the overall community. So if you're a leader above leaders, you want to make sure that you are creating that dynamic for them, that place for them where they actually feel that they can lead and they're not like floundering. Because I do know some people that are in those positions and they're not sure. They're
Yes.
actually like, I don't know what to do. I don't feel that I've been properly trained. I don't know if I'm doing the right
Are you
things,
there, Leslie?
the right things. Mm-hmm. Can you hear me? I'm here. Oh, Andy's gone. Okay. Well, and he will be back soon. So thanks for joining us. And as we go along on this, so that's what I was saying. Like my take on a leader is like more. There's more to it than just leading, right? There's leading by, being the person who is someone who wants to, that people want to follow. But there's also that leadership role where you are also helping people to lead within the same organization. So let me just see. Andy, there we are. So you
There.
popped off. So that's okay. So
Yay!
yeah, I'm
Internet.
glad you're back, because although I was prepared, I guess, sort of, that I was going to take this until you got back on. I do prefer that we have these conversations because I like to have a balanced conversation around an idea, right?
Yes. Yeah, and I was only off for a few seconds. So I heard
Yeah,
most of
two
what you
seconds.
said, and I do have some feedback. Like you said, sometimes a leadership is thrust into a position; they're not voluntarily seeking that position. So that's why there's two kinds of followers that I identified. There are people who have followers. People follow leaders. Now, sometimes they follow them because they have to. It's part of their job description. It's part of their family dynamics. If you have a matriarch or a patriarch of the family, people follow that person because it's their position in the family. It's their position in the company. It's their position in whatever the organization is. And people don't necessarily voluntarily go into those leadership positions. And then there are people who want to follow somebody. Sometimes there's a leader who has no followers, but he or she has people who choose to follow them, who want to follow them, and who maybe the leader hasn't decided they want to lead yet. I found myself in that position a few times in my lifetime where people were looking to me to lead them, and I wasn't necessarily recognizing that that's what they were looking for. And those two different types of leaders have different types of qualities that make them leaders. Leaders who are thrust into that position, generally it's because somebody decided that they like that person's qualities. Like you were saying, a leader might promote somebody else into a leadership position underneath them. So, like a CEO or an upper level management might promote somebody in a company to be a leader of, say, a smaller team. That doesn't necessarily mean that person they promoted is ready for leadership. So the qualities that person might have might be this, for example, that they're good at their job, or they're good at they have the kinds of skills that particular leader is looking for. In those kinds of cases, it's often a higher up that is judging whether or not you are qualified for the position. In the other case, where there are people wanting to follow you, it's the people who want to follow who are judging you as a good leader, who are judging you as having qualities they want to follow, that they want in a leader. So in different cases, you're getting your leadership options from different people, and that can change which skills are most appropriate for the position. In the case of a company, or even in a leadership of a family, or other organization like that, if somebody's promoting you from above, like, for example, a king choosing his heir, a king or queen, or choosing his or her heir, or a CEO or executive choosing who's going to become the next level manager or leader, the people above you, the people who are there before you, are the ones who are judging whether or not you have the qualities, and therefore it's their qualities that you're trying to promote, you're trying to prove. And although you do want to encourage the loyalty of those who are following you, you're also trying to live up to a set of expectations from those above you. And that can be difficult. Now, when you've been thrust into a leadership position because people choose to follow you, now that's a different thing. Now you're trying to figure out what it is that they like about you, what it is that they're expecting from you, what it is they want from you, what it is they lead from, or want you to lead them for. And in both cases, leadership, like you've said already, is about following. In all cases, leadership is about following. In the king example that I would use, in the royalty example, most royalty came into place as a way to serve the people. The good rulers were people who serve, people who made their subjects' lives better. It's the same way in a company. It's the same way in a family. People who make the people who follow them, people who help them do their thing better, whatever their thing is. That's what leaders do. Leaders encourage, empower, and blaze the path. They go first, and that's some of those qualities that I like in a leader, is somebody who's willing to do it first. Now, they don't necessarily know the job as well as some of the people following, but they know some of the requirements of the job. They know what's needed from them. So that's my feedback on leadership. Like I said, there's a few different ways to look at it, and there's just so much to talk about.
Yeah, and I agree. And one of the things, though, you were talking about, how leaders serve. And I think that's really important when you look at leadership, because if it's become more of a power position, then you're not serving, right? And so, but if you're powerfully serving, is a different thing. But if this is all about power, and you don't have that service mindset, and I think really it's important as a leader that is a quality that you embody. Like, you want to serve other people to the best of your ability. Like you were saying, in the royal family, yes, they were put into positions. Most of them, I don't even know if I could say most of them, but there would be a small handful of them who actually did serve their people in a way that was meant to benefit them, their people. But there is obviously a lot of history around royals that he was a position of power, and so their positioning was the people were there to serve them. And I think that's the difference, I think, between a good leader and a not so good leader, is that how are you approaching that position? Are you approaching it as one to serve, or are you approaching it to be served? And I think that's part of it. Being in that role is so important. You're not put into that role to actually, and that's why I think when it comes to politics, which we're not going to get into, but it's the same type of positioning. You're put in a role to serve the people. But if you're in that role because you choose that position is going to serve you, then you're not in that role, and I think in the right mindset. And so, which leads me to thinking about, and you also said that leaders encourage, they empower, which of course, again, is in that service-based mindset. So my question is, like, okay, so we know how great leaders should lead. We know how some of the qualities we'd like for them to have. But for example, I would like to know, like, if you've had specific experiences around leaders, whether they've been great or whether they haven't, like your personal experience. Because I know, like, from my own tenure in law for the last 39 years, I've had different experiences around leadership in the different companies that I've worked in. So I'm just curious what your experience has been around leadership, as it pertains to not you being a leader per se, but you've actually been either not so much forced, but you've had to follow other people, and what that experience has been like for you.
Yeah, that's a great question, because I've got a couple of different experiences. And actually, I have a few different experiences, like most people do, by the time they get to our stage in life. There are obviously those people who are in positions of power for the authority, because they want people to serve them. And I've worked for companies like that. I've been in social groups like that. Of course, I wasn't very long in those social groups, but I've been in situations where the person in authority was there because they wanted other people to do what they want, and they're just horrible situations. You feel like a slave. You feel like you're taken advantage of. You feel like you're not valued, and that's what I felt all those things. And then even in the service part, there are a number of leaders who serve, and even they come in two flavors. There are those leaders, and I've worked for them, and I worked quite a bit longer for them than I did for those first set. But there are those leaders who serve, and they tell you what's best for you, or they told me what's best for me. Basically, they were trying to teach me the skills they judged that I would need in order to be successful at that particular position. In other words, they were trying to serve me. They were trying to empower me to do the job better. They were trying to show me what's required to be good at this particular job. And then there's the third set, which is the service type who ask me what I want, who give me what I'm looking for, who um, who are serving from a place of getting to know who I am. And those are the leaders that I stayed with the longest. Those are the leaders that I chose to be around most often. Because serving by telling them what to do or teaching them, or that's good. But a great leader serves them by empowering them to do what they're good at, what they want to do. So yeah, that's been my experience. I'm curious to know what yours is with leaders. You mentioned being around the law arena for a while, so I'd like to hear some of your experiences.
Yeah. So as I said, I've been in this industry for 39 years. Part of
You
that,
clearly couldn't have been. You're not old enough to be.
Yes, I'm only 21. But no, really. So yeah, 39 years. And part of it now is it's still by choice, obviously, but it's in a less of a crazed world for me now because I'm no longer in the 9 to 5 grind or the 9 to 6 or however you want to look at that. Because it never really was that. It was really usually like 50, 60 plus hours every week. However, for me, being around different organizations in law, whether it was through companies that had an internal legal team, or whether it was actually working in a law firm, and working just noticing the levels, the senior managing partners, the managing partner of an entire firm, and how he also it was how he was leading that really, especially in one of the firms that I worked at, the leadership qualities that I saw was about making great leaders that can make this firm a great place. It wasn't just about me being at the top. I'm the boss. You're my underlings. You do my bidding. These are the rules, and that's it. No, it was okay. Yes, I might be the most senior partner, but we're all partners in the firm. Creating this dynamic where senior partners, and then there are junior partners, and then there's associates, but making everyone feel that the ones, even though that they were in leadership roles, they were also cultivating leaders, upcoming leaders, uh, soon to be partners in the firm. I think that's one of the ways a lawyer is really looking for to help them to determine whether or not they want to become a partner in a firm that they're at. Yep. And it's just based on how the firm is being led, financially, the direction of how the firm is to grow for growth. And what was really great was just seeing how the dynamic worked, watching these attorneys that were at these high levels, and the people underneath them, that they were cultivating their relationships with them, but empowering them, encouraging them, serving them in a way that made them better at what they did, allowing them to then do the same for the lawyers under them. But that also extended to the staff, to the paralegals, to the legal assistants, to the IT departments, to the support staff under that, to all of the mailroom, any aspect of the organization. And I'm talking about large firms, because most of the firms that I've worked at were large. And so just watching that, and as I said, I took a lot of notice in that because it was important to me. And although I didn't spend years and years and years at most of these places, the time that I got to spend at some of these firms that I was at, I was I intentionally paid attention to what was going on around me, because that made my work environment, either it was comfortable, either it was toxic, whatever that was. And so, as I said, as I watched these dynamics going on around me, it allowed me to be able to feel more confident. My skills increased because I wanted to show up. I wanted to be good at what I did. I did adopt that work ethic, that I came to work to work. It wasn't I came to work to rob the firm of their time, because I truly believe that I show up, you pay me to work these hours, and if you're good to me, I want to be there. And that's part of, I think, creating a company culture. Now, does that mean that through my entire tenure I noticed that it was always like that? No, because I've noticed, and I don't know if some of our listeners can relate to this or you can, is that over time I have noticed that the culture in companies, not all, but the ones that I have been in, some of them, it became less about having that company culture where the leader was leading by example, was serving the leaders he was putting in place to make sure that he had a well-oiled machine running. And so for me, those experiences weren't so great. And
Right.
I noticed that. And so I couldn't wait to get out of those places. And so my experience has just been that I've been super intentional about paying attention. And I think what those experiences have helped me with is when I know that somebody is taking care of the firm, that's taking care of the people that are running the firm, that are taking care of me as a support staff and treating me well, that allows me to do my job well. And I don't have to go home thinking I hate my job
Right.
based on how I'm being treated by the people that run the firm. I might not have always liked my job because of how the hours I had to work, but that's not necessary. That's a different side of it altogether.
Right.
That's completely different. It's a very high impact, very stressful type of job because it's depending on what you do, it can be extremely busy. But that's a different aspect to it. I'm talking about the people that are in position to make my life good or to make my life not so good. So
Right.
that's kind of been my experience over the past 39 years. Like I said, it's hard to
Yeah.
believe when I say the number out loud.
It is hard to believe from my perspective as well. No, I agree completely. It's some of the places that I've worked at have been brilliant for helping customers get what they want, and crap for helping staff get what they want. And some companies have been the other way around. They're great to their staff and crap to their customers. And then there's the odd gem where they're great to their customers, they're great to their staff, they value the people, they don't, it's not just a slogan on a board someplace. They actually value their people. They show they value their people, not just because they know them by name, but because they know what's important to them, and they've helped them get what's important to them. And some of those things are job related, and some of those things are family related. I worked for one company where when they threw a Christmas party, they would send two people out shopping for all the kids that were coming to the kids' party before the adults' party. So they knew how many children each staff member had, what their ages and sexes were, and they went and bought them gifts. And there was never a child who wasn't completely obsessed with the gift these people bought, because they just knew what kids of that sex and that age would want in those days each year. They were up on the in thing for every kid, and they just got the perfect gifts. That's that's what leadership looks like. Like the leaders of the company didn't do that, but they made sure it got done. They put a couple of people in charge of that task who would be very good at it, and it got done, and it was really good. And so that to me is an example of leadership. They care about who you are, not just how good you do your job. They care about who you are as a person. They don't just know your name and the name of your wife, but they know what you care about, what you want, and they know how to give it to you, or that at least they're interested in learning how to give it to you. You know, that's what the companies that I've loved working for, what they have been like. And I have been I've been let go by companies like that. There's been two companies that I really loved working for that after I think it was been 2 years for each one, I was let go because although they were doing what they could for me, I wasn't doing what I could for them. And those were brilliant learning lessons for me, brilliant life lessons for me, because they were the only companies that I'd worked for after working for decades for companies that didn't care even what my first name was. Never mind what I wanted out of life. I didn't believe companies at all could care about me. So when I ran into a couple of companies that did, I already had my work ethics in place, and they were less than standard. And that taught me some brilliant lessons about how to recognize when you're being valued, how to recognize when a leader is leading the way I want to lead. Because I was back in the day, back in my younger days, I was just in a complainer mood all the time. And that's what's actually got me into this personal development. Is I was like, I don't want to complain. I want to help people have better lives. And that's to me was what good leadership looks like. Is it's companies that value their employees enough to do what their employees need or are looking for or are asking for, and to go above and beyond to encourage to empower the happiness, the joy, the family life, the personal life of their employees, the off work hours. Not that the company wants to own those hours, but that the company can help the employees get the best out of those hours. You know, never mind, it also has to be said that they also um, do good when they help the employees, like you were saying, help the employees do their job better. When they make the employees, when they do things that the employees like, when the employees feel good coming to work. I'll put in 50, 60 hours a week for and high stress job and you know top of the line effort if I feel valued in my company. And I'm not talking about wage, although wage is a small piece of that. I'm talking about, do you care who I am, what my values are, what I want out of my job and out of my life, and will help me do those things. That's what I think a good leader does.
And I agree with you too, because I think you can, and you touched on something, it's about money. I think I made that an issue once for me, a determining factor. And that was quite a few years ago, but I made that a determining factor. And it was early on in my career. And I realized that the saying, the grass is not always greener on the other side, is really true. And that is because you, if you base your position only on money and you ignore everything else that you could be getting red flags about, by the way, you could end up in a place where you're not happy. Luckily, I was able to go back to my old job and I ended up staying there another 4 years. But it really does make a difference when you don't base your decisions just on one thing, especially nowadays, because like I said, I've found just in my industry alone, there has been, I think, a move away from really like I don't know, just before I had the position that I'm doing now, that there wasn't really a lot of celebration of your staff, I guess you could say, where you are like listening to them. You want to know what makes them tick. You want to make sure that they're happy because you want them to be happy in the environment that they're in, that they come to every day, that they spend a lot of their time at, and you want them to do their job well, but you want them to want to be there. And I
Yes.
think a lot of companies have moved away from that. And that was just, like I said, it's only been in my own experience. But I do want to transition our conversation into coaching because that's what we both do.
Yep.
And I guess for me, I am not really so sure about how coaches lead by other than some of the positive experiences I've had, some of the not so positive experiences I've had with coaches and how they lead their community. So for me, my experience, I've had few different coaches. I truly believe that coaching is a necessity for my growth, for my overall, well-being as being a coach to be well-rounded. I don't believe that I can just say I'm one and done in my education because I want to learn. I want to be able to serve at the highest level and maybe I'm transitioning into just more than certain areas of coaching that I do. And so at some point that might happen. But I like to make sure that I'm up to date on new practices, maybe new new things about coaching that people are looking for. And as I grow my business, I want to be able to have not only that, have a growth mindset, but I want to lead that way by example to anyone that I hire, that as a coach, I'm going to empower you to lead within your the what I hire you to do. So if you're my VA, I want you still to be a leader within that role. If you're my social media marketing, whatever that is, I want you to be a leader in that role. If you are my tech person, I want you to be a leader, adopting that leader mindset. Like, how would I lead Leslie Godette's coaching community in my role? How could I best serve in my role? And how can I, as the coach, as the leader of the organization, support all of you in that role and lead from that and listen and be able to, again, as I said earlier when we first started, it is about following a little bit, because, allowing for someone to bring an idea that might actually improve quality is is allowing yourself to grow. But there have been places I've been outside of this, and as I said, in the role of working as a legal assistant paralegal, that hasn't always been celebrated. So in this coaching industry, I have heard people say, they don't like the word, they don't like coaches. And so does that mean that there's coaches out there that they're leading by example, meaning they're showing the world what coaches shouldn't be like? And so I feel, and I think I can probably speak for you as well, that we want to lead by example how we believe coaches should be, because we want to be able to serve the people that we work with so that they go on to lead really amazing lives. We don't want to just like take your money and run, and like if you transform, great. If you don't, whatever. That is in our psyche, neither one of us. So I'm just curious, like, and for you, and as you become this coach, that you've transitioned, you become more and more, I believe, like more solid in your craft. We both have over the year just really started developing our skill set in a way that I think these conversations have really helped us. And I think we've been leading each other by example.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
what's your
Yeah.
experience about coaches as leaders?
That's exactly what I was going to suggest is you and I have led each other. We've both been leaders at different points and for different reasons and in different skill sets. And when you were talking about being a leader in our company, as a coach, we would hire like VAs or marketers or different people for different purposes, and we would hire them to lead their particular portion of our company, and by that I will follow them in that leadership. I'll be one of their followers. I'm hiring them to do something I don't want to do, or that I don't have the time to do, and therefore I'm hiring them to lead that thing. Now that doesn't mean to say that they get final veto on everything, but it does mean they get leadership of that thing. Whatever that thing is, I'll take their advice, I'll take their suggestions. I want them to come up with the ideas. I want them to be creating and empowering and doing and leading that job, and I will follow them, not necessarily all the time, because I'm also their leader. This is part of the leader service dynamic. In order to lead, we have to also be followers. In order to be followers, we have to also lead sometimes. We're followers when we have a specific skill set or a specific department or a specific thing that we're good at that maybe our leader isn't. As I mentioned before, a leader needs to know the job qualifications. He needs to know the thing that he needs to know what each person below him is supposed to be doing. He doesn't necessarily have to do everything they're doing, but he does need to know what they are. So those people that the people we're hiring, they're also leading us, and they're leading our communities, and they're leading each other. They are responsible for their particular thing that they're good at. And I don't care how big the company is. If they're thousands strong and you have a CEO of left-handed widgets and a CEO of right-handed widgets, they're still going to be leading each other and everybody under them. The guy in the mailroom is still going to be leading the CEO, because the guy in the mailroom knows more about mail than the CEO does, right? Each of us has to lead our position, and we can all be leaders in that way. And great leaders, the great CEOs, the great people at the top encourage that. The people who are the greatest leaders of companies, the greatest leaders of organizations, the greatest coaches encourage that. And another way that we are leaders as coaches is our clients come to us to help them with something. So we're leading them to their solution. We're leading them to the thing that they don't know they already have. We're leading them to the thing that they don't know that they used to have and forgot, or covered up, or buried, or pushed down. We're leading them, and we're following them, because by walking them through their journey, we're also learning stuff. We're also, by empowering them, we're becoming empowered. By doing what we do for them, we're learning stuff, we're doing stuff, we're becoming more and more followers as well as leaders. So I believe coaches are, the coaching industry and coaches as a whole are natural leaders. As you mentioned, there are many of them who are bad leaders. There are many coaches who, just like leaders in jobs, just like leaders in virtually any other aspect of life, there are some that are good at it and some that aren't. And if you have found a bad leader, like if you found a bad job, what do you do when you got a bad job? You switch jobs. If you find a bad coach, that doesn't mean coaches are bad. If you find a bad job, does that mean working for somebody else is a bad idea? Well, in the last 2 years, many people have decided to think so. But no, it doesn't mean that. There are still plenty of good jobs out there, great companies to work for who will give you exactly what you're looking for. And some of them are coaches. So in those ways, I believe, yes, coaches are leaders. And some of us are great. Some of us are not so great. Some of us are good at what we do, and some of us are not so good at what we do. And I think, as you mentioned, you and I are, in this collaboration, one of the biggest benefits that we've discovered, each of us, is that we are learning to become better leaders, better coaches, better human beings, better men, better women, better people, and I love that. That's part of why I love this dynamic that you and I have. And this is how we lead you, our audience. This is how we're showing you. We're serving you by going first. We're serving you by having these conversations and by telling you about these things, talking about these things, how we're telling ourselves about these things as we're talking about them. As we said, we don't script them. So we're telling ourselves these things. Some of these things that we're saying in these conversations, we've never said before. These are original ideas for a lot of us, for both of us, a lot of the time. So this is how you can lead, by taking our example and doing this yourself with someone else. And yeah, I'd love to know what your thoughts are on how that works, on how all that's going.
Well, I love all of the things that you said. Coaches, the leader, yeah. What I love though is that being a leader as a coach has probably been one of my most favorite things to do in my life. And but I also knew that there had to be that fine line between my own life and my life as a coach. So like separating the two and being a leader in both.
Yeah.
And what I've loved again about this collaboration is learning um, to learning about each other, like not scripting these calls, having these really profound conversations at times. At least I think they're profound. I don't know what our audience
I
thinks.
agree.
Having these new ideas pop up because again, there's no script. Knowing what we're going to be talking about, but it's just not scripted. I'm not putting pre-questions. But as we are talking, if I think about something, I'm taking notes and then I want to bring it up. And so one of my things I think with coaches and my experience with them as being great leaders is I think that the best ones out there are empowering the people that they work with to be great leaders within their own right. So, in other words, if you're anyone I work with, like the women I'm working with, to empower them to do what I do, I'm working with them because I want them to be a great leader within their own dynamic, their own life dynamic, and allowing them to do that from a place where number one, they understand that there's no value system when it comes to being worthy because we already are. We're born that way. And there's nothing that you can do or nothing that you can do more of or nothing that you have to do less of that makes you worthy or not. We're all born worthy, but it's what we do with our lives that matters. And so for me, as being a coach who wants to be in that leadership role, is, I think it's also partly embodies being a mentor. And so, and I love that because I love that because, especially with someone I've been talking to recently and how I notice that my words speak volumes to this
Yes.
person,
Yes.
and so it's my responsibility to be aware because I know that words are so powerful. I know that they say sticks and stones can break your bones, but words can never hurt you, but it's not true.
That's
I
correct.
truly believe that it's just a way to mask our pain by saying that.
Yeah.
But I truly feel as a leader that I have to be super consciously aware of what I say when I'm working with someone, or even if I'm doing a live video, a training, whatever that is,
Yeah.
and to be aware of what I say because words carry weight. And so it's been really a deep honor to really have this connection with you because I feel like we we allow ourselves to be open, we allow ourselves to be vulnerable with each other. We talk about pretty much everything, and we're in a friendship, a great friendship.
Yes.
And that also I think allows us our friendship and the level of respect, even if we don't agree all the time, because there
Right.
has been times where we haven't.
Yep.
But that has been, I think, both of us coming from a leadership a role where we're allowing the other to lead. We are allowing ourselves to lead the other. We're allowing each other to be led. I know I'm just saying it in different ways, but it's just actually just so people understand it. Like we
Yeah.
are allowing this dynamic, this relationship
Yes.
to be about leading each other so that we, in a way that we are supportive, encouraging, we're serving
Yes.
each other in other ways, in how we support each other with our businesses. We collaborate on this YouTube channel. We also have our mastermind. We have other calls that we do. We're encouraging each other. We're supporting each other. We're building a community. And we're doing that from a leadership place. Both of us are in a leadership role, which allows us to go out into our communities and lead better.
Yeah.
Because we're leading by example in the friendship that we have, allowing ourselves and showing the community here that's watching us that you don't always have to agree on everything. You can actually talk to each other about the same topic that you might have a differing opinion on and not get bent out of sorts if you don't agree on it. And we're showing each other, we're showing our community, I should say, that we're actually listening to what the other's saying before we're responding, because our responses actually prove that. I mean, that's what I've seen over the past almost a year of doing this with you and collaborating with you in other areas. And so, yeah, for me, leading in the coaching world has allowed me to actually um, experience coaching in a way that I am now open to other people's opinions that are in the coaching world, and being able to voice, being able to like be that voice of a leader in in communities as well, where it's with respect, where it's with coming from that service mindset. That's how I lead. I lead from love. I lead from being of service. I lead from encouragement. I lead from being empowering others. That's how I lead. I know that's how you lead.
Yeah.
We lead from these areas because we know that that's how people will respond. That's how we respond, and that's how
Yes.
others will respond. And so that's what I think is what it means to be a leader to me,
Yes.
is leading from those places, because you understand that in order to get a response from someone, like the saying goes, you get more bees with honey than you do with vinegar. I think that's what it is, or more,
Yeah.
however that,
Yeah.
that's the same. And so, yeah, it just makes more sense. And that's why whenever I've been in a work environment within the law firm, I'm just going to go back to that for a quick sec. In the law firms I've worked in, I've noticed that when leaders in that dynamic, when they treat their staff, when they treat the people who are managing partners, their leadership partners within the industry, in their firm, and they lead in a way that like makes the people feel like, oh, you are an important piece of part of the puzzle. And how they also treat, as you also mentioned, their clients, and their clients feel like, okay, well, I can feel confident to be led by this law firm that I'm doing the right thing, which allows them to lead in their community however they're doing. So this is a ripple effect here of
Yes.
what a great leader is, because
Yeah.
like I said, for me, working with women, and I know for you working with men, we want the people that we work with to go back to their communities, to go back to their families, to be able to be in this role, in a leadership role, in a positive way,
Yep.
comfortable, confident, always coming from a place of gratitude, always wanting to serve, because a leader can serve. It's not about being served. A leader can serve and still be a leader, and understanding that and being a better place. Like that is like my ultimate like wish, is
Yeah.
for that to happen with my clients. And so that's what a great leader to me, like that, when we talk about what it means to be a leader, I mean, that's to me what a great leader embodies and what they do. And I
Yeah.
choose to be in that. I want to do the best that I can. That's why I show up the way I do.
Yep.
And I don't always get it right. There's going to be missteps. That's just life. I'm human. I can make mistakes just like anyone else, but I'm very consciously aware of it. And I always look at it and say, okay, how can I do better? Because
Yeah.
that's all you can do. You can't beat yourself up, but you look at how can I do better. And I think that's what a great leader can do, is when they can say, you know what, I made a mistake. How can I do better?
Yeah.
And that is, I think, really a question that maybe in our industry will really serve the communities that we serve a lot more, have them to have a lot more confidence in the coaching world, if coaches in the community would say, you know what, I messed up. How can I do better? And you notice that by the coaches that you and I gravitate towards, they will admit, hey, I got it wrong, or I'm not perfect, or I did this. I'm going to tell you a story about how I messed up. This is what I did, because I realized and I fixed it.
Yeah.
That's being cute. That's being authentic, and that's being human and owning it, showing your community that you care. That makes a great leader.
Yes. Yeah. And I love all of that. Like there's so much to respond. I've forgotten most of the things I was going to respond to.
That's
Um,
okay.
but one of the things that you said is that you and I are leadership with each other. And when you were saying that, I thought there are two kinds of friendships that I have had in the past that I distinctly remember. There's probably been hundreds of kinds of friendships, but there's been two that I distinctly remember having. And one friendship that I used to have in my younger days, teenage years and early 20s, I would have friendships where both of us, both sides of the friendship, were trying to follow the other person. So we were trying to earn their respect or be good enough for the friendship or you know prove to the other person that I deserve to be here. And we were always coming from a not enough place. Um, and rather than empowering each other, we were trying to empower, or we're trying to prove how much power we ourselves had. Um, and
Oh, are you there, Andy? Oh, there you are.
how are we doing?
Okay, you're here.
I can hear you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Oh, I can almost hear you.
Yeah, I can hear
Yeah,
you.
I'm here.
I can hear you too.
Hello.
Hello. Can you hear me? Oh, he's going off again. So yeah, so I I think one of the things that Andy was saying was about the friendships, right? Here, I'm going to put him back in. I'm going to, here we go. Oh, there we go. Hey, Andy, you're back. So before you go there, I wanted to say something about what I was just actually saying to the audience was humans inherently want to belong, right? That
Yes.
connection. And I think
Yes.
what you were saying is that you were trying to, you both were trying to make sure, like, you got to like me. You got to want to have me in your life. So go ahead.
Right. Yeah. And that's what I was trying to do there is show a contrast because what you and I do is we lead. We neither one of us is trying to deserve this collaboration, this friendship, this partnership. We're not trying to deserve it. We're each of us belong here. We know we belong here. We believe we belong here. We're leading this thing. You're leading it. I'm leading it. So, what we're doing is we're coming from a position of authority and power, personal power, empowerment. We're coming from a place of feeling empowered and wanting to empower our partner, wanting to empower our friend, wanting to empower this person we're in this collaboration with. I want to empower you, you want to empower me, and I want to feel empowered, and I do feel empowered, and so do you. There's a completely different energy there. And what that does is it allows us both to lead more. It allows us both to be stronger leaders. It allows us both to learn better leadership, to become better leaders in ourselves and in our communities by showing up to this friendship from a place of power and authority, of empowerment. We are both of us able to bring each other up. We're able to grow and learn and gain confidence and just feel better about ourselves, our lives, our coaching, our families, our like everything we do, because the very existence of our collaboration is why we're here. And we love it so much. This is one of the results that you and I have felt and why we wanted to pivot for 2022, because we wanted more of this and we want to give it to you. We want you to feel what we're feeling. So here's our gift to you. From our empowered place of authority and leadership, here's our gift to you. And I just love how we do that. The kind of conversations that we have, the authority that we bring, the leadership that we bring. We're here to serve. We're here to give you what you want. We've always wanted that. We've said since the very beginning, please comment, please tell us, please let us know what you're looking for. Subscribe, like, share, do all the wonderful things, comment. Let us know. We want to serve you. And we're going to serve you even if you don't tell us what you want. We're going to serve you anyway. And when you do tell us what you want, we'll serve even more. So please, let us serve you. That's what we're here for.
Well, we're at the top of the hour, and I just going to let it end on that because I think that was brilliant. Yeah, and it's right. You're right. We just want to serve. So
We just want to
it's
serve.
been really amazing again to have this conversation with you. I'm excited for this year. We're going to be going live, as we said in the beginning. The last call that we had, we announced that we were going to be going live every week on Friday. So every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern, you'll see us here. So drop in and check us out. If you like this first conversation of the new year, please press the like button. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. And also share this with your friends and get them involved because, we said, we're going to be going live every week, which is to serve you guys to the best of, we're bringing up different topics, talking about different things, making the conversations always real and authentic. non-scripted. We just know the title, we know the topics we're going to talk about, and that's just how we roll. So
That's how we roll.
I really want to say thank you so much for coming, Andy. It's been a pleasure again, as always. And
it's always been a pleasure. Yes, I love these conversations. Thank you very much, Leslie. Thank you for watching. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next week.
We'll see you next week. Bye, guys.